Hey everyone, it's Ollie from Mashup Games, and welcome back to the series where I go through the development of making my first commercial game in Unity. As of now, the game is currently titled Siege, a medieval fantasy tower defense game where you must build your defenses in your dungeon to fend off against heroes. As a first look, the game seems to have changed quite a bit, but of course we'll get into that later in the video. But for now, I just want to say a massive thank you for all the feedback and support you all have given me in the last video. It's only been out for around a month, yet it's my 4th highest watched video, and you all had so many great ideas that I can't wait to add later on in development. Where we left off, we had the basic dungeon generation, enemy placement, and hero and enemy combat. Nowhere near a playable state, but we got some groundwork. First thing I did after that was fix a little problem in the player animation. In the last video, you could probably notice that the minions and heroes, when their destination is shared with another, they tend to jitter like wind-up toys, and look a bit strange. Especially this glorious scene here, where a ritual looks like it's taking place. All I needed to do was tweak some conditional variables to changing animations, because what was happening was the player was constantly moving between the idle and moving animation. But with that fixed, it looks a lot better. Next thing I did was add some health bar to the minions, so the player knows, well, how much health the minions have. Also, quick question, what are these? Minions? Enemies? Monsters? I don't know what to call them. For this video I'll refer to them as minions, but if you prefer something else then let me know. Then development of Siege was put on hold for a week, as I participated in the 2020.2 Brackeys Game Jam. I made this game Clock Tower, and it managed to somehow place 29th in game design and 39th overall, which is absolutely incredible considering there was around 1,800 entries. You can expect a video on the making of that game sometime soon. But back to Siege. I have to be honest here, I was a bit sloppy on recording things when I did them this month, so you'll have to bear with me on that if you see something in the recording I haven't mentioned yet. Something I had half implemented in last video but didn't finalise was the ability to focus on an entity. I wanted the player to be able to focus on a hero or minion and track them using the camera until either the player moves the camera or clicks off or the target dies. In the first video I said that dungeon generation simply builds a minimum length path between the start and end paths, but well, that's extremely limited and you don't have much control over it. I wanted to have this control over exactly how many rooms there will be on the primary path, and so I decided to adopt an approach that I used in my final project at university. In that, what would happen is that you would place the first room in the coordinates of 0, 0, then you would choose a direction out of right, left, up or down. If the chosen direction is available, then you build a room there and go again. But if not, then you remove that direction from your choices and choose again. If there's no free space around the room, then you'll run out of directions to choose from, then the generation would start again from the beginning. I thought this would be a good thing to use in my project, so I did, but I made some changes. I didn't want the generation to start all over again if it blocks itself off because, well, that's bad performance. So this time I took a recursive approach that would work like a tree. Each direction would create a new branch. The algorithm would cut off one branch if it leads to a dead end, and finish once it finds a branch that is the length of rooms required. I added some range and bounds to the movement too, so that the generation doesn't go out a certain XY range and doesn't create a boring dungeon of just one direction. And because I want the start room to always be from the same direction, as in the door would always be on one side, I had the start point be at the border. So now the generation works a lot better, and I have full control over things like the number of rooms. This can also lead to an easier implementation of secondary paths later down the line. After that, I wanted to make the actual game look a bit nicer, so I started with the UI. I made a quick concept of what the UI would look like in the game, so you have the coins at the top left and the minions in some list at the bottom, sort of like a tab layout with the minions and traps and whatever else. I made some basic implementation, and instead of this, I kind of ended up with this, which makes it look more like cards. Of course, this is just a placeholder UI and can easily change, but for now, I didn't mind it. This commenter said that I should add the monsters as cards, like in the game Slay the Spire, which isn't quite what I was thinking for gameplay, but I really like the idea of choosing your minion to place out of a deck of cards, so this is very likely to be something I have in the UI later on. So right now you drag from one of these cards to a place in the dungeon where you want to place the minion. This is going to change later on. Someone in the comments section said I should replace the drag and drop function and instead have you select the card of the minion you want to have, and then you can add as many of those as you want without having to keep dragging and dropping from the same place. And that's something I definitely want to do, and I think that'll work great with the cards movement. And as you can see from the video, the dungeon now looks very different. This is because I had hopped into Blender for the first time in ages and made some dungeon walls. People were saying I should stick with the paper style, and so the dungeon walls are made of cardboard with some scribbled stone wall pattern on it, which I think looks really cool. Now the dungeon rooms look like boxes, and that really makes you feel like you're playing with some toy figures in some battlefield you crafted yourself out of cardboard and paper. I think I'll be sticking with this theming, and probably expect this theming to evolve later on. And now, introducing another minion to the fray. The skeleton. Right now, the skeleton acts in the same way as the goblin. The only difference is in the look. But the plans I have in the future is to make the weapon that this skeleton uses to be a bow and arrow. Either that, or the skeleton throws bones at the heroes from the distance. What I really have in mind for this skeleton is for it to be a long-range minion. I want it to attack the heroes from a distance, and so that offers a very different type of gameplay to if you just use the goblins. This game could really do with some, actual game stuff. Right now it's more of a simulation game than a tower defense, and the thing that all tower defense games need is some sort of wave system, where in each wave you have a number of certain types of heroes of varying type or count that your minions have to fend off. My game needs that, and so I whipped up something quick. As of now, the game sends off the first wave of about 10 heroes in time intervals, and that's about it. Sure, we may have gone from 0 seconds of gameplay to 30, but it's still an improvement. There's also a coin display up in the corner, which the player can earn more by killing heroes. And that about wraps up all I've done for this devlog. If you want to know more about Fantasiege, then join the Mashup Games Discord server, where there are dedicated channels to the discussion and suggestions for this game. You can also feel free to leave any suggestions or feedback in the comments section down below. The idea I have for this game is to have a playable demo, even if it's just bare bones and you have access to 2 or 3 minions. I want something that can be playable in the next couple of months. I'm really enjoying making this game so far, and I'm really looking forward to working on it more and getting it to a place where you all can play it, because I really value all your feedback. But for now, if you've liked this video, then please like and subscribe. This is Mashup Games, signing out.